Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brian Hornback podcast. This is going to be episode 41, and this one's going to be a little bit unusual from some of the ones you've already listened to. But again, it's the Brian Hornback podcast in conjunction with BrianHornback.com. So those of you that are finding me on all the streams like iHeart and Apple Podcast and Anchor FM, where I actually produce it and house it. That's great. Go check me out at BrianHornback.com. And those of you on BrianHornback.com, check out, obviously you're listening to this, so you're probably seeing this on BrianHornback.com. There's a YouTube page. Go like and share. However, today we've got, and yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see the window and you know that it's dark, so it's not really today. But we've got somebody joining us. This will be actually the second person that's joined the Brian Hornback podcast. Several episodes ago, we had Senator Marsha Blackburn on, and that was fantastic. But recently, and I say recently, Mr. Cameron Ward from over in the Powell community, who happens to be the JV assistant. I believe he's the varsity assistant coach and the JV coach for Hall's Middle School. And he'll correct me here in a minute if I got any of that wrong. But anyway, he has entered the race for Knox County School Board in the 7th District. Now, the 7th District is Powell and Halls. Has been represented for the last 7 years by Patty Bounds, and before that it was Kim Sepisi, which I believe is Kim Severance now. And so the Powell community really hasn't had much of a. Patty Bounds was a former Bricky McLeod kindergarten teacher, and she's served now for a while, but she has opted not to run. So Mr. Cameron Ward has set up a treasurer. Nominating petitions aren't going to be available till like December, but he's launching his social media stuff, and he will be actively campaigning for this position. Young guy, and I believe he's 20, maybe 21, something like that. But Cameron, welcome to the Brian Hornback podcast.
Brian, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us, you're a fairly recent product of the Knox County school system. Tell us about that.
Yes, sir, that is correct. I actually have accepted a position coaching basketball over at Hall's Middle School with Coach Jeremy Fine. He is actually a teacher over at Hall's Middle. I am going to be helping him with the varsity middle school basketball team, the upper 7th graders and 8th graders, and then I am actually going to be the head coach of the JV team, the 6th and 7th grade kind of combined.
Fantastic. Now, you're also a product of the Knox County school system. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So what do you think, obviously, as you and I talked, I think yesterday, Patty Bounds was kind of fortunate. She was one of these elected officials that never had an opponent, until she ran for state representative, but she never had an opponent for school board. And, you may be fortunate enough to get it without an opponent as well. We don't know that yet, but let's just kind of talk about what do you see? There's been a lot of discussion in the Knox County community, and in the Knox County community, obviously, as a former school board member, I'm aware that there's almost 90 school buildings, so there's so many different communities that make up Knox County. But what do you think? As you've considered making this decision, what are you hearing from the people in the Powell community that you think is most important, or maybe two most important things that they want to see in their next school board representative?
First off, Brian, thank you for that question. And, I believe countywide right now, not just so much in the 7th district, I think school security is at the top of that list. School security, and then probably followed by a COVID response. I will start with school security. I'm a firm believer. I believe we need armed officers in every school in Knox County. I've always been a believer of that and always will be. Students are at school to get an education, right? we don't need students at school fearing for their safety. And unfortunately, in Knox County right now, I believe that some students do go to school when school is in session and do fear for their safety. With all the stuff going around. And, I was actually in a scary situation at Powell High School probably about just a couple years ago when, there was a threat of a potential shooting outside of the school building. It was a very frightening moment, so to speak. There was armed officers at the school. I know the school security officer and I think the school resource officer were there, took control of the scene. And then, I'll be honest with you, Brian, I felt extremely safe when the Knox County Sheriff's Office arrived on the scene. You could hear we were in the school, locked down, obviously on a hard lockdown. It's declared by the school administration. You could hear the helicopter flying around outside, and just the officers were coming around checking every classroom and just checking and being sure everyone was safe. And, that just kind of gave some reassurance. There are still people that care for everyone's well-being in our community.
Right.
And then the second thing, probably from the district I'm hearing a lot of is the COVID. I'm sure every school board member, whether they're going to be running for re-election or running to take the seat, I'm sure every school board member is going to be hearing about that. And as everyone has for the last, 18 months into this now?
Yep.
12 to 18 months. I believe, I'll go ahead and start. I don't think masks should be required in schools. I think it all comes down to some personal responsibility. Whether you have the vaccine, if the vaccines work, why do we need masks? It's just like, because, I know they're coming out with these new vaccines now and being tested for kids and, for adults and all that stuff. And, I'm not saying the vaccines don't work, but since they have been proving to work, I guess just the consistency or the inconsistency, so to speak, released by the CDC might have kind of gave everybody a little fear, so to speak. Because, everybody was told, get your vaccine, get your vaccine, get your vaccine. And now kind of backtracking, saying, okay, no, we need to start wearing masks again. I believe, as I said, if you had that vaccine, it all comes down to personal responsibility. And, I think it all comes down to parents maybe educating their students on it. I know some of the younger ones may not quite be able to understand it, like some of the older ones who just scroll through social media and read stuff about it. But, I think conversations need to be had. And as I said, I don't think masks should be required. I don't think it's productive for our students. I do think masks maybe helped for a little while, but not that much, so to speak. And, I think now that it's hot, and, I just don't think we need to put our students through another year of having to wear masks in the classroom.
What was your thought going through COVID? Obviously, the schools was locked down from about March until the school year started again last year. What was your thought about the lack of preparation or the lack of this is a bad word because Biden's getting a lot of grief for it. Infrastructure. I mean, they didn't have Chromebooks. They didn't have laptops. They didn't have iPads for every student. And so, there was I don't like the term loss of learning because I just don't think there is a true loss of learning. But obviously, there was no connection from March until the end of the school year. So, what was your thought about their lack of ability to be able to carry on the school, particularly in 2020?
Yes, certainly. That's a very good question. To kind of give you a little background at first, I was actually in my senior year. I'm a graduate of the class of 2020 at Powell High School. So when I was actually an early graduate, so I, of course, was done in December. I was actually just working at our family restaurant in the community. COVID started ramping up. Late February.
Right.
And then March is when it really got pumping. And, I started seeing, and I guess when I was like, okay, yeah, this is real, is when the TSSAA came out and canceled all spring sports that season. You just kind of saw that death rate going up. I've lost a family member to COVID, or not a family member, extended family member to COVID. So,
sure.
And referring back to your question, no one was prepared for COVID at all. None of us were. I think it would be a disservice to say that somebody was prepared, because none of us were, whether we can say it or not. I think now that it's fourth quarter Friday night,
right. This is clearly 2020 hindsight. I mean, obviously, but just go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just kind of saying is like, I think. And as the next school board member of the 7th District, I will immediately start working to be sure systems are in place. We need to be better prepared if and when there is a next time something like this comes up. I think, as I said, none of us were prepared, but I don't think the making it up as we go is productive in any setting at all. Expect, nonetheless, a school system with 58,000 students.
Right. And, the bottom line is that, yes, they were able to purchase the Chromebooks, but if they hadn't had the money coming from the federal government and the other $114 million they're going to get over the next 2 years, they may or may – I certainly think that Glenn Jacob – I certainly think that Superintendent Thomas, the school board – Glenn Jacobs and the county commission, they would have found a way to pay for those Chromebooks. And there was a little bit of, to say we bought Chromebooks for everybody is a little disingenuous, because there's a lot of schools out in Knox County where the PTAs and PTOs and sports programs have been buying up computers to be used. And so really yes, they had to buy up hundreds and thousands of computers, but they also had schools like Powell, like Farragut, like many of these community schools that already had the computer infrastructure. So, do you know yet what your social media Facebook page is going to be? Have you been able to decide what that's going to be yet, or are we still in the building phase?
So some stuff is in the works as of now. Sure. It's going to be released hopefully within the next 24 hours, to speak. Our Facebook page is called, it is Cameron Ward for School Board, and you'll be able to look it up and find it. And my Facebook page is just Cameron Ward. Yep. You'll be able to find it. We don't plan to use Twitter or any of that, and our website is going to be coming up within the next couple days. Hopefully not the next couple. Yeah, actually the next couple days. Sure. As well.
Cool. So people can look for you on Facebook just as Cameron Ward. That's CAMERON, Cameron Ward, WARD. So we appreciate you. I appreciate you being on the. I use the word "we" a lot. I don't know why I do that, but I've been a one-man show for all these years. But for some reason, maybe I'm adding my dog into that. But so I appreciate you being on here. Certainly, when this podcast is published, Cameron's stuff will be up, and so those of you that are watching it on YouTube. We'll be able to. I'll put Cameron's Facebook page on the description in the bottom of the YouTube, and those of you that are viewing this on stream, go check it out on brianhornback.com where the video and audio will be, and we'll also have a link to Cameron's Facebook page then. But good luck to you. I know it's very early. The Republican school boards are nonpartisan. So if you're voting in the Republican primary or you're voting in the Democrat primary on May the 3rd of 2022, you'll be able to vote for Cameron Ward for Knox County School Board in the 7th District, and that is basically Powell and Halls and all those precincts. But I'll also list all those voting precincts on the blog post as well. So Cameron, good luck. I know we'll be talking to you again between now and May the 3rd, and anything we can do to help get the word out, you let us know.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Brian. And then one more thing.
Sure.
I was actually going to give you our active website as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
It is CameronWardSchoolBoard.com.
All right, CameronWardSchoolBoard.com. We'll be looking for that, and we wish you well. And it's pretty hot right now to be going door to door and to be meeting people. But the good news is, in a few months, you'll be getting sweatshirts and having to be drudging through the cold. So you're gonna get most of the seasons in this campaign. So.
Yes, sir. And then, Brian, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for everything you do for our community.
I appreciate you. We'll have you back real soon, and good luck, Cameron.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.